this version of carbon is actually radioactive. So if I were to feed you food that was laced with carbon-14, I wouldn't do that. But if I did, where would I find that carbon-14 in your body?
Stomach?
Initially in your stomach, first your mouth, then your stomach, and then
Everywhere.
all the cells in your body, right? Because all of the molecules in your body have what is sort of the base atom in them?
Carbon.
Like what's sort of the scaffolding atom all biological molecules are built on? Carbon, right? So if you feed a living organism carbon-14, all right, that carbon-14 can find its way into all sorts of different parts of the body because everything is made of carbon. Okay? But now imagine that I were to feed you this molecule, sorry, this element, phosphorus, and I forget actually the atomic number of 15, phosphorus. Phosphorus 32, all right, which is a radioactive isotope of phosphorus. Where would I find that? What molecules of your body would I find that in?
Everything.
You'd find it in your ATP, you'd find it in your DNA. And why would you find it in your DNA? Right, because every single letter of your DNA has a phosphorus associated with it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is that the reason why when there was the nuclear, like when there's been explosion, you know, and where there has been atomic bombs let off, is that the reason why there's mutations? Is it because of that when that element is changed in your DNA?
No, it's not because of the radioactive phosphorus, but when there are like nuclear accidents, there's all sorts of different radioactive elements that can get released that can be incorporated into your body in certain ways that would put them close to DNA, whereas they emit their particles, that would induce a mutation in the DNA. So it wouldn't be a change in a phosphorus of DNA that causes the mutation, but having radioactivity present, the energy from the radioactivity can induce a mutation. So I think you guys can see that if you feed an organism phosphorus 32, that means they're going to have radioactive DNA, because that's where a lot of phosphorus is found. Now, somebody will have to enlighten me here as well. Let's see, sulfur 35. Does anybody remember off the top of their head? We just 16? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't need to remember. Come on, guys. So there's no reason you would know this, but one of those 21 amino acids, cysteine, has a sulfur in it. And so in your body, one place that sulfur commonly occurs is actually in your proteins. So if you feed an organism food, essentially, that has radioactive sulfur in it, you'll preferentially put radioactivity into the protein of that organism. So our sulfur 35 is going to lead to radioactive protein. This is a big setup for this experiment. I spent like 20 minutes talking about the setup for this experiment. So what they do in this experiment is they take bacteriophages that are radioactively labeled with sulfur or radioactively labeled with phosphorus. They let them infect bacteria, and when they actually dock on there, you can remove them by vigorous shaking. So when the bacteria start getting infected, they start shaking around and shake. No, not quite like that. But if you do take bacteria that have bacteriophages on them and you agitate them violently, you can actually shake off the associated bacteriophages. So what you do is you let infection happen, then you violently shake them to shear off any attached bacteriophages, and you look to see where's the radioactivity. So bacteriophage with radioactive DNA or radioactive protein attaches, you let it infect and inject its information, and you simply look to see where is the radioactivity that correlates with DNA, where is the radioactivity that correlates with protein. Okay? So, this is your experiment. And when they violently shake it, what they do basically is put it into a blender, because the blender blades are really, really big compared to the size of the bacteria. So as you shear it around, you don't chop the bacteria up into little pieces. You just shake them violently and knock whatever's associated off. So what I want you to do is look at this data set and look to see where the radioactive sulfur and where the radioactive phosphorus is. Extracellular means outside of the cell. And so it's giving you the percent of the total that's inside or outside of the cell. So look at this data and then discuss with your group who it supports as carrying the heritable information, protein or DNA. And yes, I know you already know it's DNA, but I want to make sure you understand this experiment.